Hello and welcome to this repair tutorial, and today we're going to look at an Arcam Alpha and the model number is 7R. R just indicates that the amplifier would have been provided with a remote control at new, which can be used to place the amplifier into mute, stroke standby, and also operate the volume control. In terms of general specifications, power output is 45 watts per channel into 8 ohms, but this will increase up to 80 watts if you have 4 ohm speakers. Frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Total harmonic distortion is 0.01%. And then input sensitivity for your moving magnet type cartridge input from a turntable is 2.7 millivolts. And then all of your other line inputs are 250 millivolts. The amplifier also supports a preamplifier output. This is 510 millivolts. So you could connect that preamplifier output to additional power amplifiers. And then in terms of speaker impedance, range is 4 ohms to 16 ohms, and then dimensions, height is 85 millimeters by a width of 430, and then a depth of 330, and weight comes in at 4.5 kilograms. Now when you look from the top of the amplifier, you can see here on the left hand side is the toroidal transformer. You also have towards the front fascia where you have your individual switches, and then also your user controls. So this is the bass, treble, balance and volume controls. You also have the input selection, and then also the headphone jack socket, and then you also have the speaker protection relay, which we'll come back to in a little while. And then on the right hand side there is no selection switch, unlike the Alpha 8 series where you can toggle between a line input and phono. Here the phono stage is dedicated. And then what was the issue when this amplifier came into the workshop? Well, what the customer was advising was that they had issues with distortion, intermittent loss of sound, imbalance between the channels, and just overall what I would term as age-related issues. Now, with any kind of fault like this, you can specifically target maybe an area. So you could say, let's go look at the speaker protection relay. Let's go look at the input selection switch. Maybe look at the user controls, the potentiometers. None of that is wrong, but it's the sum of all of these that leads to all of these issues. So what I always say, and I give this guidance, is you've just got to adopt a systematic approach. Often with amplifier repairs like this, you've got to get the amplifier to a known position of good and then decide under test is the further fault finding that I have to do. And commonly with these amplifiers, if you follow this service routine, it'll eliminate all of the issues as I've described earlier. So once you've removed the amplifier circuit board from the chassis, what I've done here is I've just highlighted specific areas with these circles, and this is where you need to focus. So these are the input RCA sockets, which always have cracking around them because it's a stress point. The speaker protection relay will be an issue, but we'll come back to that. Also the output MOSFETs, you often find dry joints there, which could render the amplifier into protection mode. And then also the Euro input socket, the headphone socket as you move towards the front. And then those other circles around the volume, bass, treble, balance control potentiometers. And then also the input selection switch as well. This is something that we need to focus on, but from time to time you can also find that there are dry solder joints around there. I appreciate you may have such a fault and find that and then re-solder, but you do need to take the switch out to disassemble it to do a thorough clean. Otherwise you'll find the issues with intermittent sound will come back. So here what you can see is a top view. And what we're showing you is the input selection switch. And you can't kind of make out on this photograph, but there are dry solder joints. Because this amplifier is the 7R, it's really a simplistic switch. You only have 2 wafers. On some of the other amplifiers, you can have up to 4 wafers. So it's a little bit more complicated. If this is the first time maybe you're doing this work, always take a series of photographs. That will help you then to reassemble the switch in the correct order if you're going to remove the switching contacts and the wafers. And maybe you forgot what the orientation was. So here what we show you is the switch disassembled, and I've just removed the back plate using a set of side cutters. So just use a fiberglass pencil, which can then be used to clean the wafers of the switch, and then you can also use De-Oxit, a high quality switch cleaner, just to remove any residual grease as well. And then what you'll find is that you'll be rewarded then once you reassemble it with really high quality operation, because there's not going to be any resistance or oxidization, which could have an impact on the audio quality. And then here what I've done is I've just removed the locking nut from the volume control potentiometer. And remember that this is a dedicated circuit board, and there is also a motor on this board as well. What you can find is that there are some dry solder joints around the pins of the potentiometer, so you just need to resolder those as well. And remember that all of these input switches and user controls you will also need to clean with De-Oxit D5 just to ensure that you have repeatability, also as well reliable operation, and it's completely noise free. Don't forget also to spray some switch cleaner or contact cleaner directly into the headphone socket and insert the headphone jack plug multiple times just to clean off any residual oxidization. And then in terms of adjustment, it is very straightforward. What you're looking to do here is to set the bias for the output MOSFETs. So here what we're doing is we are adjusting, in this case for the right channel, RV101, and what I'm doing is I'm just measuring across the resistors there until I get a reading between the range of 3 to 3.4 millivolts. Now remember that you'll leave the amplifier running for 20 minutes just to warm up, and you need to have it in a stable environment, not a drafty environment. And then when you make the adjustment, just wait a period of time until the output MOSFETs then restabilize, and then you can read directly the current via the millivoltage reading on your meter, and then make any small slight adjustment. So here you can see that we have a correct reading, which is 3.22 millivolts. And then here, this channel was slightly low at 2.98. And then what we've done then is just to make the adjustment, just to bring it up to 3.33 millivolts. And again, when you make the adjustment, as I said, just wait a period of time and then recheck just to make sure that everything is good. And then here, what we've done is really completed all of the work. But remember as well that you will need to replace the speaker protection relay. And what I'm showing in this photograph is indeed this Omron relay. Now it's very common. It's a 24 volt DC coil, and it has individual switching contacts inside, one for the left and one for the right hand channel. And you can see the part number here, but I've also put it in the description for the video as well. So once all of that work was done, the only thing that remains is just to put the amplifier on test. And then this amplifier ran for 4 hours. Completely faultless, no issues at all. And I've worked extensively on these amplifiers, and I'll put a link in the video description below for other repair tutorials. But you know, if you are able to pick up any of these Arcam amplifiers and probably spend, I'd say that this work probably takes in the order of about 2.5 to 3 hours if you're going to be meticulous and do all the work. As I say, for many repairs, don't rush them. Often if you do that or you're limited on time, you may make a mistake. Just take your time, work your way through. If it's the first time that you're undertaking the work, you're going to learn an awful lot along the way, but just follow the tutorial and then you'll be rewarded then with a very, very nice sounding amplifier and a welcome addition if you have a stack system. So that brings us to the end of this repair tutorial, and if you have any questions or you need any guidance or support, by all means email audioamplifierservicing@aol.com and I'll be more than happy to come back and provide any support that you may require. So until the next time, I wish you all the very best. Cheers and bye-bye.